Hey there. Hello, how do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel. Thanks for coming. This is the 80s, darling. Yes, it is. It is 1985, Tuesday, and I'm on the dance floor. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm at the WXOQOROX bar. That's that bar downtown in the East Village with the radio call letters. We can never remember what the exact name of the bar is. Right. And I'm down there on the dance floor cutting it up. I'm cutting a rug. I'm having a fantastic time. I'm doing the broken puppet. A couple of songs are coming and going. They grab me. I grab the dance floor. Yes, I'm in a spectacular mood. I was at the Winter Garden. I'm in a good mood for some reason. And I went downtown, had a couple of drinks, a shot in a beer and a shot in a beer. And I'm having a great time. So that song ends. You get a little tired. I pull over, go to the bar, get another drink and another drink. Yes. Old Bushmills, shot of Old Bushmills, and a bottle of Rolling Rock beer. Yeah. And so I'm hanging around. I finish that shot. Boom. Right away, of course. And then you're sipping the beer. And then all of a sudden, All Night Long by Lionel Richie comes on. Yes. That's here's the thing. That's on every jukebox, in every bar, on every street, on every corner in Manhattan, every hour, every night. Yes. But it's a fantastic song. I hit that dance floor right away. And I'm dancing around. I'm doing the broken puppet. I'm doing the swoon. Yeah. And much to my delight and surprise, a beautiful young lady comes up and starts dancing with me. She's got this beautiful head of black hair and these big, gorgeous dark eyes. She's fantastic, and she's got a great big smile. And it's an unspoken thing. The music is going, and we just and she comes up and starts dancing. She smiles at me. I smile at her, and now we're dancing together. It's fantastic. At one point, I take her hand and spin her around. This is fantastic. I'm having a great time, and I don't even and haven't even met her yet. Well, the song ends, and we're all like that. And I turn to her and I say, "It has been lovely dancing with you, my dear. How do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel." She says, "Hi, my name is Valeska." And I'm like, "Valeska? Whoa! Like Valeska Surratt, the silent movie actress. Yes. You ever hear her?" And she says, "No." I said, "Yeah, back in the teens. She was one of the early cinema's first vamps. Yes. You've heard of Theda Bara. Yes. Well, don't forget Valeska Surratt." And she's like, "Whoa." And I'm like, "Yes." She says, "Well, isn't that nice?" I go, "I know." She says, "Well, come on over. I'd like you to meet a friend of mine." And I'm like, "Whoa, okay." And so we go on over there, and oh, it's some dude in a really nice suit, but and I'm like, "Oh, ew. I hope she doesn't think I want to date this guy." And he's like, "Hi there, my name's Kevin," and he has, and we shake hands. I say, "Hi, how do you do? I'm Harry," and he says, "That was some fantastic dancing out there," and I'm like, "Ha ha ha ha! Ha. You're very kind." Uh, he said, "You a dancer?" I said, "Ha! Only in my mind," I said. "And, of course, on the dance floor, but not professionally," I said. "I am an actor." He says, "Oh, fantastic, because we really like your energy." And I'm like, "Well, thank you. I was just having fun out there." He says, "Yeah, we'd like you to audition for us." And I'm like, "I'd love to audition for you." Well, yeah. Uh, you want me to bring a monologue or something?" And he said, "No, no, 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 no. It'll be mostly an interview." And I'm like, "Oh." He says, "Yeah, we'll have these next week." And he turned to Valeska. He said, "We can get him early Monday, can't we?" She said, "Yeah." He said, "All right. Here's my card." He gives me his card. It says MTV, 57th Street. He says, yeah, we're having auditions for MTV VJs, video jockey. And I'm like, ugh. And he's like, yeah. And so I'm like, Monday, next Monday, this coming Monday at 11 o'clock in the morning at this address, this office, I'll be there. Should I bring a monologue? He says, no. Don't worry about that. And I said, a VJ, I said, I don't know particularly a whole hell of a lot about contemporary music. The radio I listen to is mostly classical music. I listen to WPIX, of course. Who doesn't? So I have an idea what's going on. Yes, but he says that doesn't matter. You don't need to know anything. You'll learn. It'll be fantastic. And I'm like, oh. So see you Monday. And I'm like, fantastic. I said, well, I shook hands with him. I said, this is just a pleasure meeting you. I turned to Valeska. I said, well, lady, another dance? And she said, yes. And then, boom, boom, bow down, bow down, boom, bow down. And next thing, Like a Virgin by Madonna Louise Ciccone of Michigan starts playing. Oh! So I take her hand and we run out on the dance floor, and I'm doing the broken puppet. We're having a great time. And it's a lovely, exhilarating song. You know, it is. It's very peppy. Hard not to love it. And we get to the end of the song. We're dancing together, laughing with each other. It was just delightful. You know, she was doing the shake, and I was doing the broken puppet. It was a lovely coupling. Yes. Anyhow, after the song's over, Kevin comes up and he says, "Well, we got to cut out." And she's like, "Oh, okay, all right. Well, it was very nice meeting you." I said, "Lovely meeting you," and they took off. I feel like $1 million. This is fantastic. I go over and get a celebratory drink and a drink. Yes. Shot of beer. Yes. I take that shot. Boom. And I put that away right in a second. Right. And then you just sip on the beer for a while. This is fantastic. I got an audition for MTV next Monday. Well, so now it's the following Saturday. It's that Saturday, and I get a phone call from one of my Michigan friends, Prisha. Yes, we went to college together back at University of Detroit. She's living in New York now, and every now and then she gets these amazing tickets to see this, that, or the other thing. Right. And she calls up. She says, "I got a couple of tickets," and I'm like, "Fantastic." She says, "I can't make it." I'm like, "Oh." She says, "But if you go to the place and tell them my name, there's 2 tickets." And I'm like, "When's that?" She says, "It's tomorrow night, Sunday." And I'm like, "Absolutely. This is fantastic. What is it?" She says, it's a Hollywood premiere right here in New York City." And I'm like, "Fantastic. Anything else? Anything else?" She said, "It's called Just Between Friends." And I'm like, "Gotcha. Well, all right." And so it's like, okay, I got a couple of tickets to see a Hollywood premiere right here in Manhattan. So I called Beatrice. Yes. I go, "Beatrice, what are you doing tomorrow night?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm busy." And I'm like, "Oh, are you sure? I got tickets to see a fancy thing." She says, "No, I'm busy. I can't get out of it." I'm like, "Oh, well, all right." So then I decide, well, we'll see what happens. Let's see who else I call. I call Cornlad, my drunk friend Cornlad, and I go, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow night?" And he's like, "Nothing." I go, "Let's go see a movie." He goes, "Okay." I got tickets to a premiere. They might have beverages and hors d'oeuvres at the afterglow, which is what often happens at premieres. And he's like, "Yeah." And so it's like, okay, so we're going to go do that. So now it's the next night. It's over here at this theater on the east side. It's the same theater where I went to see The Gods Must Be Crazy with Diet the Second. Yes. So anyhow, that's over here. Here, excuse me. Watch this. I'm going to get a sip of beverage here. Yeah, I had to clear my throat a little. Anyhow, we go in, we watch the movie. It is Just Between Friends, starring Mary Tyler Moore and Christine Lottie and Sam Waterston and some new guy that I never heard of called Ted Danson. Right. Anyhow, it's a soap opera of a movie, but the acting is mostly lovely. It is. Mary is fantastic, and that Christine Lottie, Michigan girl, Michiganian. Christine Lottie is fantastic in this movie. I really loved her. Anyhow, it is. It's lovely. And some of those moments were just truly moving. I loved it. Anyhow, movie's over. And there is an afterglow. And Cornlad and I go out there, and there's a whole huge table with dozens and dozens and dozens of little Dixie cup looking things filled up with cheap white wine or fake champagne. Right. So I had several dozen of those. Right. And they had hors d'oeuvres, they had broccoli and shrimp on a toothpick. Yes, and so I had several shrimp on a toothpicks and several pieces of broccoli and several more drinks. And eventually it's getting to be a pretty blurry evening. I know, in pretty short order because I was just packing them away. I know. Anyhow, at one point, the crowd in the lobby, the celebratory afterglow, roars because what should happen? But the stars of the movie are coming into the lobby, and there's Mary, there's Christine, and there's Sam Waterston, and that other guy, right? And the audience, the crowd is fat, and they swarm the stars, right? So you're like, well, there's no chance of getting in on that right away, and so we got to let that settle down. So I'll have another piece of shrimp and another drink. Well, eventually the crowd started to dissipate, and I got over to Sam Waterston, and his character in the movie was named Harry, and I made much of that by them. I'm sort of tipsy, and I'm like, "Hey, your name's Harry in the movie. My name's Harry. Hi, it's nice meeting you. That was excellent work." He's like, "Oh, well, thanks. Okay, Harry." He's like, "Okay." And I got out of there because even drunk, I realized get in, get on with it, get out. Exactly. And don't pester the celebrity too much. Right. Anyhow, then there was an opening. I could get in and talk to Christine Lottie. Oh, this is going to be fantastic. And so I worked my way up. I'm very bumbled. I'm very peppy and happy. And I'm like, your work is just fantastic. And you're from Michigan. And she's like, yes. I said, I'm from Michigan. I'm from Detroit. I'm from Dearborn. She's like, hey. And I'm like, hey. I go, local girl makes good. And she's like, oh. She was very lovely. And that was nice. And then somebody else bumbled up and I got out of there. Say your piece and vamoose, right? Well, Mary was being swamped like she was the only life raft in the water, and everybody was clamoring to get aboard. There was no way I was going to get anywhere near her. And at this point, I'm pretty bumbled. So I have a couple more shrimp and a couple more drinks, and Cornlad and I decide that it's time to get out of there. And I just as we're leaving, I go, wait a minute, Cornlad, I got to talk to Christine Lottie. She's from Michigan. And he said, you already did. And I'm like, oh, right. So we're walking, we walk over to Fifth Avenue. We're on the east side. And we walk over to Fifth Avenue, which is Central Park. And we're walking down Fifth Avenue. And there's a dumpster there on Fifth Avenue. And this dumpster is loaded with construction rubble and refuse and plasterboard, sheetrock, and drywall and all sorts of stuff in this dumpster. And there was a few drywall planks sticking out of the dumpster. And Cornlad goes, hey. And he goes and he reaches up and he pulls one down. And he goes, boom, smack, and he breaks it on his head. And we're like, so we climb up, and there was a bunch of these planks. So we got a handful of these planks out of the dumpster, and we're like, okay, hit me. Whack! And we're hitting each other over the head and breaking these boards. It's hilarious if you're a couple of drunken imbeciles. Anyhow, so then down Fifth Avenue comes a cop on horseback. Clippity clippity clop, and he stops kind of across the street over there. Now, we're just sober enough to realize that there's a cop in the vicinity, and we're just drunk enough to not care. We're not doing anything wrong. Any harm we're committing is to each other, and we're obviously enjoying it. Whack! Whack! And the cop's just watching us. And we're not littering, we're breaking the boards over each other's head and then throwing them back, the broken pieces back in the dumpster. Right. Well, the cop eventually gets tired of watching us idiots, and so he starts his horse, and they clip clop away. I'm sure if we were closer, we could have overheard him mutter under his breath, "Morons!" as he clipped clopped away. Right. Anyhow, so we finish hitting each other in the head, and we go over to the other side of the street. Now we're walking down Fifth Avenue on the Central Park side. It's lovely. I reach in my jacket pocket. I've got my sport coat and my jacket on. And I go, oh, I got my headband. I got this red and black and white yin yang. It's got a yin yang on it. Headband. And I put it on. Yeah. I put it on. Right. And then I go, hey, wait a minute. And I pull it down over my eyes. And I'm like, hey, let's play blind man's buff. And I grab Cornlad's elbow and I start walking. And he goes, what? And then wham! I walk right into the tree. Splat! And then I got stars. I see stars, and I take the thing off, and there's Cornlad, and he goes, "What are you? Oh!" And I immediately thought that he had ran me into a tree on purpose. And so I immediately shrieked at him. I said, why would you do such a thing? And he's like, but no. And I just started screaming at him. I immediately flew into a blind, drunken rage. I still got stars. I still got a headache. It hurt like hell. And I go like this, and I feel warm. And I look, and there's blood on my face. And I'm like, I'm bleeding. Great! Now I'm mad. And I'm just screaming at him. And I just storm off down Fifth Avenue. And he starts to follow me. I'm going down Fifth Avenue. And my blind rage is just, all I can do is just scream and yell and shriek at him. And I've got so much self-loathing already built up that my go-to emotion is self-rage and self-loathing. So it overflows into that. My life is such a waste of time, and I'm bleeding. I hate this life. Why would you do? And I'm just screaming and shouting and yelling and bleeding. Oh, it was a barrel of laughs. Oh my God, I'm so angry. I can't even believe it. And we're walking, we turn the corner, and now we're on Central Park South. And I storm ahead. I can't even believe how angry I am. And he comes up, and I go, do you want me to show you how angry I am? And he's like, he grimaces, he swallows hard. He goes, okay. And I take off my sport coat very nicely, and I hand it to him. And then I go to I got this nice white shirt on, for going to a Hollywood premiere. I had a nice shirt on. And I grab it by the lapels, and I go, and I grab the pocket, and I go, and I untuck the shirt tail, and I start to rip, and I'm just tearing and shredding, tearing and shredding this shirt into shreds. And it's just a pile of scraps. I tear off each button, point. I tear off the collars and I tear off the cuffs, and now I've got a handful of shreds and rags. And I go over to one of these big New York trash cans, one of these big wire mesh trash cans, and I go over and I throw the rags in the trash can, and I pick up the trash can over my head like a monster with a victim. And I go over to the Central Park wall, and I throw the trash can as far as I can. Bam! Clunk! Rattle! Booga booga booga. I walk back over to Cornlad. I take my coat and I put it on very nicely. And I turn to him and I say, "That's how angry I am." And I turn away and storm off up 59th Street. Oh, it was a barrel of laughs. I'm just still dripping with rage and dripping with blood. And I go, "Forget it. I'm gonna take a taxi cab home. I'm gonna take a taxi." So I hail a taxi cab, and I look up and I see I'm standing on 59th Street on Central Park South, right across the street from the Colossal, the apartment where Diet II lived. Yes, that was right here. Anyhow, I hail a taxi cab, and in relatively short order, one comes up. And he pulls up, and I look in the window there, and he looks at me, and he gets one look at my bloody face, which I didn't realize was so bloody. And he just steps on the gas, vroom, and drives away. And I say, "Fuck yeah!" Yeah. I look back, and there's Cornlad just kind of standing there. And I storm off 59th Street. I just say, "Oh, forget it. I'm just going to walk home." I walk over to Broadway. I'm just dripping with hate. And I get over to Broadway, and I'm walking up. And I'm walking, and it's a lovely night. I realize I'm sort of hungry, and after a while, if you're taking a lovely walk on a lovely night, you forget that you're filled with hate and rage. And so I realize I'm sort of hungry. And I realize that 97th Street is Empire Szechuan Gourmet. I'm going to get some cold noodles. They are supernaturally delicious. And so I'm very excited about that. And I'm walking up the street, and I'm in a peppy mood now. Yeah, I don't know. And I get up to the Empire Szechuan Gourmet at 97th and Broadway. And I walk in there all smiley and bloody. And I go up to the counter, and I say, "I would like to order cold sesame noodles." And they're like, "Okay." And she runs back to the kitchen. And she runs back out with cold sesame noodles already wrapped and made and bagged up, ready to go. She goes, "Here." And I go, "Oh, well, that was quick." And I reach in my pocket. I fumble with the money. I'm amazed she waited for me to pay her. They didn't care. They just wanted me out. And one of the other workers came around, put their hand on my back, and they're like, "Okay." And I pay, and they go, "Okay." And they should sort of lead me to the door, get me out of the door. They didn't want any customers to get a gander at me and lose their appetites, for crying out loud. Of course, I had no idea. So I'm so happy. They're so quick and efficient and friendly in this place. So I go back to my apartment, and I go upstairs to Pamela's place, right? And I inhale that plate of noodles. Oh, they are supernaturally delicious, as I have said, and they are so good. Then I go in the other room. I go into the bathroom, and I get a look at myself in the mirror. Ngang, 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 and I'm like, oh. No wonder that cabbie drove away. No wonder they hustled me out of the Chinese restaurant like Mr. Hyde himself had just stormed into the place. I look at myself, and I've got this cut from here to here. And I'm bleeding. I got blood, dried blood now. A river of dried blood down to my lip, over the side of my mouth, down my chin, and all the way down my neck. I look like an autopsy. I'm like, "Oh, no wonder." And I look, and I go, "Oh, okay." So when I look, and there's actually in my cut, there's still a piece of bark from the tree is still embedded there, a And I pluck it out. Ow! And it hurt like hell. And then we're bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. And you're like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I washed that up. It hurt like hell. And then I had to blow my nose. And I blew my nose. Ow! And that hurt like hell, too. Oh. Then I sit down in my bed. I go, well, that was a miserable night. It's not even that late. Thank heavens, I can get some sleep before and it hits me like a bolt of lightning in my head. I've got that audition for MTV in the morning. At 11 o'clock Monday morning, I've got an audition for MTV VJ. Oh, great. And I pass out. I wake up in the morning. I got a decent night's sleep, I guess. I come to MTV. And I frantically go over to my clothes and I look and I do still have the card. Okay. So I clean up as best I can. I put on a nice shirt that's not shredded. And I go down to 57th Street. I go down to MTV Studios. And I go in there. And I'm fragile and I'm hungover and I'm sort of miserable. And I go in there and and it turns out, oh, that's right. I didn't mention. I wake up in the morning, I look in the mirror, and I have a black eye, a shiner. Oh, yeah. Not only is it a black eye, it's got legs. It's a two-legged black eye. It's got the black eye and then another little down my face. Very charming. So now I'm going to my MTV VJ audition with a black eye, hungover and miserable. Great. So I walk in there and I'm too embarrassed to say anything about the elephant in the room. I go, hi, I'm here for my 11 o'clock with Kevin. And they're like, oh, well, Kevin's not here, but he'll be in later. I go, is Valeska around? No, Valeska's not here, but she'll be in later. And I'm like, oh, great. So then I sit down with a couple of people in this office and they interview me and I'm fragile and I'm pathetic. I talk about how I love classical music and I don't know that much about contemporary music. And I don't say anything about what's going on. And I'm sad, and they can tell. I've got my mugshot, my depressing mugshot, and my resume. It's a decent resume, but that mugshot, oh. So I hand it to them. And they say, all right. And they didn't say anything encouraging as I left. I wonder why. Well, anyhow, it's Monday. And I got a show tonight at the Winter Garden, so I go in there with a black eye. There's a worker there. There's a guy there, a beautiful old gentleman by the name of Warren. Yeah, he was Golden Gloves in the old days. He was a real boxer. And he's a security guard at the Winter Garden Theater. Warren, yeah. And he's like, what happened to you? And I'm like, I told him the whole stupid story from Mary Tyler Moore to Blind Man's Buff to picking the piece of bark out of my nose and blowing my nose. He said, oh, that was the problem. You should have never blown your nose. That's what gives you a black eye. Next time, he said, don't blow your nose. Then that way you won't have a black eye. And I'm like, oh, great. Next time. Yeah, I can hardly wait till I run into a tree again. Anyhow, if you remember Christine Lottie, comment. We love her, right? Michiganian girl, right? All right. Thanks for coming on this journey. I look forward to continuing the story with you, the saga. And thanks. And I'll talk to you next time.